So let me talk a little bit about mindfulness meditation. And first thing, of course, is that mindfulness actually is not really a meditation. Actually, mindfulness is a quality of your mind. And all kinds of meditation should have mindfulness. In fact, everything in your life should have mindfulness, but especially all kinds of meditation. So what we're talking about here is we're talking about a kind of meditation that is simply aware. Okay? And people call this all different kinds of names. It's a practice that's done in Zen, it's done in like Dzogchen in Tibetan tradition. Sometimes people call it bare awareness, or they call it mindful awareness, or whatever. And these are very similar practices. If you've ever done like a Mahasi Vipassana retreat, or if you've done a Goenka retreat, then these are similar kinds of practices, and you can just use the methods that you've learned in those retreats if you're happy with them, okay? So I'm going to teach you a method in a minute, but if you'd prefer to just keep practicing mindfulness as you've done it before, that's fine, just keep doing that. It doesn't matter too much. So the main aim of this kind of practice is to simply be aware of what is happening in your own body and your own mind without judging it, without trying to change it, without trying to cultivate certain things or push other things away, but just to be aware. And this is one of the foundations of meditation because it teaches us where we're starting from. It gives us an understanding of what is actually going on in my mind, in my body right now, so we can then start the meditation. One of the flaws that meditators do sometimes is that they're too much in a rush to get on with the meditation. Take your time. The slower, the better. Right? So just take your time. So to practice mindful awareness, I'll teach you a simple method of doing mindful awareness when we'll do a guided meditation in a few minutes. So we sit down, close your eyes, to adopt your meditation posture. Okay, so let me just say a few words about meditation posture. In fact, no, let me go back a bit before that and just give some groundwork of meditation itself. Okay, so for meditation, there are a few things that we should establish before doing any kinds of meditation, okay? Number one is be a decent human being, okay? If you're an evil psychopath, then meditation is not going to go well for you, okay? So if anybody does feel that they are a psychopath, then please come and tell me about it in the interview and we'll work something out, okay? I'm only kind of kidding, because there really are people like that in the world, and why shouldn't they be able to develop the Dhamma? I don't know. Let's try. So, but just if your heart is full of guilt and remorse and confusion and anxiety, then it's going to make it really hard for you to meditate. And don't see meditation as a cure for all of those things. Okay? Meditation is something that builds on all of those things. One of my pet peeves about the way people practice Buddhism in modern life is that they will go to work and they'll get really anxious and really stressed, and then they'll come home and they think, I can do some meditation to help me deal with my anxiety and stress. Yeah? So your work is the obstacle to your spiritual practice. The Buddha taught the Noble Eightfold Path. One of the factors of that Noble Eightfold Path is right livelihood. Right, that's your job. Your job is essential for your spiritual practice. It is part of practicing the path to enlightenment just as much as meditation is. So when we have finished our work, what we should be thinking is, wow, that's so fantastic. I've been able to do all those good things for those people and be able to help all of those people through the work that I'm doing. And then I can rejoice in that, and then that will support and empower my meditation. Yeah, that's how it's supposed to work. Yeah, and if you're sitting there thinking, this guy's crazy, that's not how work goes, it's easy for a monk to say that, then I'm sure you're right on all three of those counts. But it's worth thinking about it. Right? That this is not something that you go and like rip everything apart and tear your mind into pieces and leave your heart broken and bleeding on the floor, trampled underfoot and gnawed by cockroaches just because of the stresses of your job, and then you come home and you're like, oh, everything's going to be unicorns and rainbows. Yeah, it's not like that. Yeah, so we have to treat each aspect of our life as part of an integrated whole. I'll talk more about the Noble Eightfold Path during the retreat. So that's the first one, is just being a good person and, seeing our spiritual practice as something that emerges from who we are, rather than being something that cures who we don't want to be. Yeah? Okay. So, getting to more specific things. So to meditate, number one, okay, we have done that one. For the actual meditation, we need a time. Okay? So here we have our time on retreat, so that's good. We have plenty of time during the day. Don't waste it. Okay? You don't have to be like making a spreadsheet of all of the times that you're meditating and adding it up and quantifying it. In fact, don't do that, like at all. It's interesting that we time meditations these days. I find that's kind of a weird thing. Like there's no idea of timing meditation in the suttas or anything like that. You kind of meditated. So don't measure your meditation by timing it. I would encourage everybody to go for a walk, spend some time in nature, do some hiking, go up, there's some mountains nearby, go and meditate at the top of the mountain. Especially if you're having trouble like falling asleep in meditation, go up and sit in the early morning as the wind is howling across the mountain. Guaranteed you're not going to fall asleep. It'll be great. Yeah. So time and place. So here we have a beautiful place for meditation, one of the nicest places I've ever been in to meditate. So quiet, so peaceful, and yet very kind of relaxing and very homely. So it's a really nice place to meditate. Okay, so time and place. Next one is posture. Okay, so we all have to have a posture we sit in to meditate. Some of you sitting on chairs, some of you sitting on the floor, so that's great. As for those sitting on chairs, I usually sit on a chair these days because I hurt my knees when I was a young monk. So if you're sitting on chairs, generally speaking, you want to sit either your legs crossed, if you're like me, your legs are a bit long, or your feet on the ground, okay? You don't want to sit in a way that's too relaxed. Yeah? That's a bit too, you're not, vegging out after work and watching Netflix, right? This is meditation. It's a spiritual practice. So have some dignity in your posture, and you sit reasonably upright. It's okay to lean back on the chair if you have a back on the chair. And generally speaking, I know some of the chairs here have a bit of a wobble to them. So generally speaking, best to find chairs that are solid if you can. Arms are not good on chairs, actually. We can't necessarily solve that here, because after a while you'll find that your arms are sort of resting on the arms of the chairs and actually get sore if you're doing that for an hour. Anyway, but generally, if you're sitting in a chair, sit in a way that's dignified, where you have a feeling like your body is upright. You're not like too tense, but you feel you're alert. Okay, as far as sitting on the floor goes, then. There are a number of different postures which people can use for sitting on the floor. Now, one thing I'm just going to say is, I've been noticing people's postures sitting on the floor. I think it is kind of, we kind of forget that we have grown up on chairs, and that makes a difference. And when I went to Thailand and I was living in the monasteries there, you realize that actually people don't have chairs in their houses. I mean, they probably do now, but traditionally, basically, you don't have chairs. And if you're having dinner, you're sitting on the floor. And if you're watching telly, you're sitting on the floor. And if you're just sitting around with your friends having a chat, you're sitting on the floor. And that makes a difference when it comes to meditate. And obviously, it's just so much more natural and so much more comfortable. So if you can sit on the floor comfortably, that's great. If you're not sure how to sit on the floor well, we have got some meditation classes, right? Some yoga classes. So you can learn to sit comfortably on the floor, but don't stress it too much, right? If it's getting too painful or whatever, then just go and sit in a chair for a while. Meditation is about being happy, not about forcing yourself through pain, okay? Bit of pain, never mind. A lot, then you've got to start asking yourself, what am I even doing here? There are plenty of ways to hurt yourself if you want. That's not what meditation is about. Okay, so time, place, posture. And then the next one is the meditation method. So that's what we're going to be talking about now. So for this particular method, mindful awareness, we sit down in a posture, put hands in your lap, put the classic hand posture is with your thumbs just touching. So you should feel like you can almost like slip a sheet of paper between your two thumbs, but they're touching so lightly there. And our eyes closed or almost closed. And first of all, you take a few minutes to settle into the feeling of the posture of your body. Like everybody's body is different. The balance that you have in there, the energies and tensions that you have in there is different. So spend a while just to familiarize yourself with that and to feel how that's sort of going, and to sort of let yourself adjust. Now, you don't want to be going through your whole meditation just like adjusting your posture and fussing about it, okay? So that's something which you can fall into a trap of doing. Once you've got your posture okay, forget about it, all right? So that's why you do it at the beginning, adjust your posture, get it okay, and then don't worry about it for the rest of the meditation. Okay, so pay attention inside your body. So this is the first thing we want to do, is to bring our attention inside your body. Now, all Buddhist meditation is grounded on mindfulness of your body. It's a fundamental principle. Why? Because your body is here. Your body is present. Think about it. If I want to remember what happened yesterday, can I remember that by touching it or by smelling it? No, you have to think about it. Your mind is what goes into the past, and your mind is what takes you into the future, and your mind is what takes you off somewhere else. But if you are in your body, you are here. You are present. And you think about it. Think about all of that suffering that is going on in the world right now. Yeah? The incomprehensible amount of suffering that is happening. And in the past, and in the future. And then for yourself, if you bring your mind in here, all of that suffering has gone. So this is not to say this is getting rid of that suffering or anything like that. What it is saying is that it is not up to us to bear the burden of all of that suffering all of the time. Meditation offers us a place in the present that we can realize, there's just this much suffering. And it will be suffering. Don't worry about that. You know how when people sell meditation, right? Like if you go and like Google meditation something, then all of the pictures are almost invariably, like 95%, are pretty young, white, blonde women sitting on the side of a mountain looking peaceful. That's meditation, right? It's kind of weird, isn't it? That's kind of weird. That's like the marketing spin, okay? Okay, and the idea, you meditate, you'll be nice and peaceful, everything, that's all just spin, don't worry about that, okay? The reality is that inside you is suffering. And there's stress, and there's anxiety, and there's pains, and even the smallest thing, in like the smallest itch, can become overwhelming. And you're like, why? Why is it that there's all of these horrors happening in the world, all of this suffering in the world, but all I can think about is how badly I want to scratch this itch? And that's consuming my mind. Yeah? It's one of the first things that people realize when they're meditating. What is happening? Well, what's happening is that your consciousness is starting to become purified. You are starting to become more aware, you see? And so when you start to become aware of these things, actually this small thing you're seeing very clearly for the first time. And it might be a tension in your leg, or it might be a nagging thought about something that happened yesterday. And maybe you had a conversation, and in that conversation you said some sharp words, and you didn't think about it again, and you come to meditate, and then that comes back to you, and you think, I wish I hadn't said that. Yeah? And so all of these things will start to come up. And this is a sign that your meditation is starting to work. Right? You're starting to become more aware. Yeah? So it's just a first step, but don't worry. When these things happen, don't worry. So what we do in this particular practice, if we have a feeling in your body, then you pay attention to that feeling in your body. So you bring your awareness to it. And then you can note in your mind, you can just say, feeling, feeling, feeling. And then you bring your mind back and then leave your mind in your heart like this. Just paying attention to in the area of your chest. And then when something else might distract you, then you can note that. Maybe you start thinking about something and you say, I'm thinking. And you just bring your awareness to that thinking. You don't try to analyze it. You don't try to make it go away. You don't try to make it stay. You don't try to do anything with it, just to be aware of it. Okay. That's what's happening. So there's like a kind of openness, almost like a gentle curiosity that we're cultivating here. Like we're not trying to get rid of thoughts. This is a big mistake that a lot of meditators make. They think that if I'm going to meditate, I have to stop thinking. Yeah. But that idea, I'm going to stop thinking, that's just another thought, actually. The secret of meditation is that you stop thinking all the time. Stopping thinking is like giving up cigarettes. Said the man who was smoking, he said, I'm smoking now, but giving up cigarettes is easy. I've done it dozens of times. Giving up is easy, yeah? Not starting again, that's the tricky part. So this is the same thing with your thoughts. Actually, any thought is impermanent. Any thought is going to come to an end. Any mood that you have, maybe you get into meditation, suddenly you feel so depressed, so sad. Where does this come from? And when you're in the middle of that, you feel like that's everything, like it's so overwhelming, it's going to be with you forever. You can't even see what it might be like outside of that. And yet that feeling is impermanent. So we don't try to make it go away, nor do we try to make it stay. You just, okay, that's what that feeling is like. Actually, it's just a feeling. Feelings are okay. You've had them before. You'll have them again. It's all right. Even a painful feeling or a bad feeling, it's okay. It's just a feeling. And so when we become aware of these things, we become aware, we let go of these things, okay? Gradually, as meditation goes a bit deeper, you start to notice things that are a little bit more subtle. Particularly, you start to notice the space in between things. Yeah? Now, think about this. Think about how your attention works. If you were to walk into this room, one of the things you might think is, there's all these people in this room. That's what you would tend to notice. There's a bunch of people in this room. But if you look around this room now, you realize actually most of the room is space. But you're not going to walk into this room and think, there's a bunch of space here in this room. Nice. Yeah. Interesting though, isn't it? Yeah? If you took the space out of the room, well, it would be very uncomfortable. Right? But if you really took all of the space out of this room, so there was nothing but a cube of crushed person with no space around anybody, there wouldn't even be any people left, actually. We'd all just be dead very quickly. The very existence of us requires space. We're dependent on space all the time. And yet we don't notice it. It's the least interesting thing. This is actually one of the key insights of the Buddha. And he was one of, I think perhaps the first person, or certainly one of the first people in the world to notice that the absence of something is just as important as the presence of it. This is why, without going into kind of too much history, this is why Indian mathematics developed the idea of zero. So they use the word sunya for zero, which is the same as the Buddhist concept of emptiness. So the number zero comes ultimately from the Buddhist philosophy. The idea, recognition that nothing is just as important as something. So when we're meditating, when it begins, we feel like our mind is overwhelmed with things, thoughts, feelings, sensations, memories, ideas, desires, confusions, all of those things. And as we go on, little bit by little bit, we be aware of those things. You begin to be aware that there's a space between those things as well. Maybe you hear a sound. Yeah? Maybe somebody walks across the room, you hear the sound and you hear, hearing. Yeah? And the natural thing that we would do is then, when we stopped hearing, then pay attention to something else. But just try keeping your attention there for a bit when that sound has stopped. You're still hearing, but there's nothing to hear. What's that like? Yeah? And try applying that to your thoughts as well. Thoughts are a funny one, because usually when you pay attention to a thought, it's very hard actually to pay attention to thoughts, because they usually go away as soon as you pay attention to them. Thoughts are like a bunch of kind of naughty children who are conspiring behind your back, and as soon as you turn around to look, they're like, us? No, we weren't doing anything. And then we kind of lose interest. We're only interested in what our thoughts say, in what our inner voice says. But try, what is that space in between the thoughts? What is that nothingness like? And again, this is not like a question that you're trying to answer, right? There's not like a secret to nothingness or emptiness that you're going to discover. But what you're doing is that you're learning to expand your consciousness, to be aware of things that you normally would not be aware of. And one of the funny things that you learn then, I'm talking about like gradually deepening in this meditation, you're still doing that same practice, still paying attention in your heart, watching things as they come and go. Sometimes you'll be watching emptiness and nothing is happening. And then you'll see something starting to happen underneath, almost like a big fish that's coming up, welling up into the pond. And you see like the ripples of the waves. And you like catch a thought or a memory or an idea before it even happens. That's how that comes. And you realize you've never really seen that before. It's weird, isn't it? We never notice where things come from. Like let me give you a test now. What is 2 plus 2? Thank you. Excellent. Good to know that maths education in Norway is still good. When I said that, the number 4 came into your mind. Where did it come from? Right? I mean, you can say, you worked it out logically, or it came from memory, or something like that. But these are just words. Actually, your experience is it wasn't there, and then it was. Yeah? These things just come into your mind. And it's strange, isn't it? Like our minds should be under our control. Our minds should be the ones that say, we're going to do this or we're going to do that. But in fact, things just seem to appear. And so often I find that in meditation, people seem to feel that they are the victims of their thoughts. This language that people use around thoughts. People say things like, this thought came up. Or I couldn't stop thinking. Or these kinds of language. These are kind of like passive voiced, disempowering language that people use about their thoughts. I'll talk more about this during the retreat. But just remember that thoughts don't happen to you. Thoughts don't just randomly come up. Thoughts are an expression of something inside you. They're an expression of your desires, of your fears, yeah? Something that you want. Yeah? And those thoughts will come up. Yeah? Often, what they want, what is it that you want? What is it those thoughts want? Well, what those thoughts want is to tell you that you are you. They want to create your person. They want to create who you are. So this is what we are learning through this meditation process. All right? I'm going to talk more about all of these things during the retreat. So don't worry if much of that seems like gobbledygook so far. But again, to come back to the basic practice, we're paying attention inside our heart. And we can note anything that happens, hearing, seeing, smelling, tasting, touching, or any kind of thought, just thinking. And then just come back into the heart. And the aim of this meditation is for us to get to a place where we are going to be reasonably neutral, reasonably equanimous, reasonably mindful, okay, able to be aware of what's going on in our own body and mind. Right? This meditation itself is not aiming at any particularly deep state or anything like that. It's a preparation.